Do you remember a little thing called Y2K? Listen, I bet it is somebody still out here drinking water that they bought in 1999. Now say I'm lying. What's up? It's your girl Natasha, the CEO of Sofa Expression and your new favorite resident millennial. I know, your secret is safe with me. Welcome back to another episode of the 90's Raised Me podcast, where we are taking trips back down memory lane to uncover the lasting effects of being raised by the 90's. Now, before we get into today's episode, I'm going to need you to do me a favor. Go ahead and subscribe and join the 90's tribe because, as you know, it's a vibe over here. And while you're at it, go ahead and hit the like button on this episode and share it with a friend or two because you already know that they love the 90's too. Now, if you are listening to this on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or Amazon Music, be sure to follow, share, and if you're feeling like you just want to show a little bit more love and appreciation, go ahead and give us a 5-star review. You know what I'm saying? So we can continue to climb up in that algorithm. Now, let's go on and get into today's episode. Do you remember when people thought the world was going to end in the year 2000? Listen, first of all, what a time to even be alive. Okay, think about this. Not only were we entering into a new year, we are about to start a new decade and a new century. And on top of that, a whole new millennium. I mean, like if Jack of all trades was a year, 2000, baby girl, you the one. It was like, dang, 2000, girl, we know you done entered the chat. You ain't got to cut a fool like this. The year 2000 really had people in a whole tizzy. These people really believed that when we got to the year 2000, we were going to have some type of global catastrophe, right? Like they thought that computers could not handle dates beyond December 31st, 1999. And as a result, it was going to send everything into spiraling chaos, right? They thought that the banks, you weren't gonna be able to get your money. They thought that they weren't gonna be able to get food. Like, I don't know what they thought because these people were out here stocking up on canned goods. They were buying water like crazy. They were purchasing backup generators, and the list goes on. But the thing that really gets me the most about this is that people were out here stocking up on ammunition. Pause. Baby, what did you think? That the computers were coming to attack you or something? Excuse me, ma'am. Excuse me, sir. Who got you mad? Because why you need all that ammunition? That is crazy to me. I don't comprehend it. Listen, to me, it was given global pandemic before we had even experienced COVID. I feel like these are very similar symptoms. And then on top of all of that, you had your Christian groups that swore that they had predicted the very end of the world. They thought they knew when the second coming of Jesus was, honey. They had it down to the date, okay? Now, what I want to know is, honey, the Bible says that no man knows the date or the hour. So, please explain to me how you were able to triangulate the exact coordinates of when it was all going to be over. Because I'm confused. How you get tapped in? Listen, if you were not alive during this period of time, honey, just kind of think about being in the pandemic and people just losing their minds, right? It was a little bit chaotic, right? And then when the clock struck midnight, we all realized, just another day. Computers managed it just fine. Now, this could be because all the little computer engineers and all the little coding specialists were busy tapping on their computers to make sure that they cleared out that Y2K bug or the millennium bug as it was known. I don't know. I personally think that people had just really hyped it up for no real reason. But as I think about transitioning into a whole entire new century, right? Because look, I feel some kind of way. I got to see 2 centuries, okay? And all these decades I done had, and I'm not even 40 yet. Ain't that crazy to think about, right? When you think about the fact that I have seen 4 decades, and I'm not even 40 yet. I feel real special. That's that magic of being a millennial. It might not really be, but that's That's what we gonna say, okay? That's what we saying over here. But when I think about, the whole hype of entering into a whole new millennium, and I think about just like all of the fantasies and all of the futuristic concepts that we had about what this was gonna look like, and then you come into it and you like, man, bummer. But when I think about that, I really think about how far away the year 2000 felt as a child, right? I graduated from high school in 2005. When I was in elementary school, I was like, that is a far off land. Like, I'm never going to get there. It's taken forever for me to grow up. In hindsight, girl, what was you rushing for? Because this adulthood thing is real ghetto and you do not want it. Trust. Unsubscribe now. Run. Hide. Put yourself in some type of chamber where you just don't age because, honey, this ain't it. But I brought this up because in 5th grade, right, we went to Washington, D.C. And first of all, that trip was so much fun. Being a child, never having really gone somewhere with that many of my friends. It was amazing to be on this bus trip where I got to sit in the back of the bus with my friends. We laughing and talking. I got to sit next to that one boy that I had been liking for a while, but I had never said anything. Don't act like y'all ain't been there. We all have, especially in elementary school, okay? Anyways, we got to have so much fun. We got to go and stay in a hotel. We got to, just experience a lot of things. We were in a completely different state, in a whole different city, and we got exposed to so many new things, and it was really just amazing. But I go down that pathway and I tell you my story of my childhood simply because when we were getting ready to go on the trip, we had t-shirts made, and one of our shirts said the future class of 2005. And I promise you, I remember saying to my mom, like, that is so far away. I'm never going to get there. Like, 2005 is never coming. Okay, first of all, it was like 1998. So, girl, how? You were literally right there. Like 5 seconds away. But as a kid, it just seems like it's never going to happen. And I feel like that is the approach that a lot of people had coming in 2000 because, like, the way that they foresaw this time period, it was very futuristic. Like, y'all. How did y'all think we was just gonna poof and morph into the Jetsons? Like, I'm not gonna say we was living in the Flintstones, but honey, we have a ways to go before we get to Jetsons life. Now, to be fair, there have been a lot of advances between the year 2000 and 2023. And I am actually very much astounded by just how much, change and growth we have seen in the technology advances, right? Like, it's amazing. Not gonna take that. Not gonna hold you. Okay. I mean, we got a whole metaverse, which I'm not even gonna go there. I'm not even gonna touch that. But my point is, yes, a lot of amazing things have happened, but it's not giving this fantasy futuristic world that they was trying to sell us and hype us up for. It's just not. And when I think about that, I also have to think about Will Smith. Now, y'all gonna be like, girl, why are you bringing up Will Smith when you talking about the millennium? Listen, if you weren't alive, then you wouldn't know that Will Smith had a whole album called Millennium, okay? And he had a song called Will 2K. First of all, let me prove it to you because y'all know I got the props. Yeah, I got it. Judge me if you want to, but let me tell you something. That right there had us all in the chokehold because that song was on top of the charts. Like, when I used to listen to the radio and listen to the daily countdowns, when we approached the millennium, when we was approaching 2000, honey, that song stayed at number 1. Okay. And I remember back then I used to have to go to watch night service. Now, if you Black and you grew up in a church, you know what that is. Listen, New Year's Eve, it didn't even matter. You weren't making no plans. And as a child, really, could you make plans? But you were going to church. You was bringing in the new year with the Lord, okay? And all of your fellow church members, okay? All I remember is that year, I was like, I don't want to go. I want to sit here and I want to watch the countdown. I want to watch Dick Clark's New Year's Eve special because Will Smith is performing and him and KC about to rock the dance floor, pack the dance floor, whatever the lyric is. And it's just hilarious because in that video, which I recently watched just so I could actually, because I didn't actually remember, but I refreshed my memory. And basically, he took you on this time travel where you kind of saw the 20s, you saw the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, and so on. And then all of a sudden, he shoots into the future. And again, very futuristic. Now, could we get there? Sure. Are we there? No. Is that really what it's probably going to look like? What I'm feeling that we probably gonna end up being is more like what we see in WALL-E, because we really headed there. You know, we trying to be reliant on AI and computers, and pretty soon we not gonna really have to do much of anything. I mean, do kids even read? Like, do they go outside and still enjoy things like playing with friends in the neighborhood, kicking a kickball, playing baseball on the square? Like, are these still activities? I feel like kids from the 90s versus kids in the 2000s, we are not the same, okay? Like, I love to read growing up, and I got some good prop for you this time. Listen, I love Goosebumps, honey. I didn't quite have the whole collection, but I still got these books, and I read them. And some of them I read multiple times. And then when they brought the TV show out, I was on that as well. But, like, there is nothing like a good book. Like, the things that you can learn, the way that you expand your mind. Like, are kids even entertained by books anymore when they have literally phones and devices that they are attached to basically from birth? Like, I just feel like we shifted into this new century. We lost some things along the way. And I just want to tell this new century, this 21st century, well, it's not really new anymore, but I just came here to tell the 21st century, hey, yo, the 90s is calling, honey. And yeah, we trying to get back into it. The 90s want to take back over. And I'm here for it. You hear me? Because there are things that, the 90s, you just get all of the vibes. And I think that we need to bring back some of the things that were instilled in us from those past generations, right? Because I feel like the group that was raised in the 90s, I feel like we are one of the last groups that really had grandparents who had experienced some things and were really instilling in us a lot of wisdom. Like, nowadays, grandparents are super young, and a lot of them haven't really had an opportunity to really go through some things, where they can impart wisdom on us, or to be able to help to humble us, and help us to appreciate the things that we do have and understand the sacrifices that were made to get us to this point. I feel like we have transitioned into a place where a lot of younger people take a lot of things for granted. They have a sense of entitlement. And I really think that it is because along the way, as we have continued on this path, we have lost a bit of grounding in society and in family structure. And I am grateful that even when I think about the shows of the 90s, they really helped to reinstill those ideas of family values, community, connection, and rooting. And like, just really wanted to link you to those places of heritage and, just so that you can appreciate like everything that came before you. And now when you think about how they're trying to erase our history, right? Because first of all, our history was already whitewashed and it wasn't really included really ever. Let's be real. But now they're at the point where you want to completely erase the truth of our history in this country, right? How can you expect a people to be rooted, to be planted, to be able to move forward if they don't understand anything about where they came from? And that is part of the reason why we struggle as a unit anyways, because before America, a lot of us don't understand the history that existed prior to that. And so I think that there was just something magical around that time in the 90s where you started to see that families were experiencing a bit of prosperity. There was more of an expansion of the middle class. Like, I'm not saying that there weren't problems, and I'm not saying that there still wasn't people who were struggling, but you had this dynamic that was in play. And then, right when I get a chance to enter into the adult world, everything hit the fan. We got a whole economic balloon, a bubble, it pops. And now and now millennials have been kind of forced into this place where we were one of the first generations that had so much college debt, right? We couldn't get jobs coming out of college. We struggled to really be able to find our footing because it became difficult to even get a job after you pay all this money to get a degree. And now you don't want to pay me? And now I'm supposed to be able to help push the economy along. Now remember, millennials are basically the second largest age group in this country. So, I mean, y'all need to treat us better, period. But it's just like there was this shift that happened when we crossed over into this new century. And I really hope that we can, in some ways, reverse some of the, for lack of a better word, damage that has been done with the rapid growth of technology. When I think about like the influence of social media, which we will talk about, and I think about just the dynamic that it plays, all of these devices that we have, and the constant desire for confirmation and appreciation and validation, like all of these things, we have become a society that is just completely and totally dependent on that. And I think we've lost some of the magic that, kids growing up in the 90s got to experience. Because like, yeah, we had some stuff, but we still had like real life. We had real human interaction. We were playing with kids on the playground. We were outside during most of the day if we didn't have school. We were reading books. Like, we couldn't just say, hey Siri, or hey Alexa, or hey Google, okay Google, tell me X, Y, and Z. We had to do research and figure it out. And now I feel like I understand. I didn't like it, but I understand what my mom used to put me through, because during the summers, I definitely had book reports. Okay. School was not out for me. I definitely had to pull out the encyclopedia. Okay. And if I did read one of these here books, she wanted a whole freaking paper on what, girl. It's summer vacation. I want to go outside. But there was so much value in having that discipline and understanding that having a constant desire to learn and put forth effort, and that everything cannot be handed to you. I just feel like it helped to really create a well-rounded person in me. Okay. Pat myself on the back, and I give kudos to the adults that helped, I guess. No, but I am really grateful for just like how they help to instill, because now that I'm in this space where technology is all around me, I don't feel as though I'm heavily dependent on it. I feel as though I understand, like, yes, I need it. Yes, I'm going to learn it. But I'm also going to be like, you know what? I'm a little leery of this. Like, everything you can't go all in on, like there are some things that you do have to still keep boundaries and set those boundaries. And sometimes with social media, those boundaries get blurred, but we're going to talk all about that next week. So I want to make sure that you come back and join me, because listen, I am going to have something like, it's going to be real good next week. Okay. We're going to get into it. So I hope that you will go ahead and hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't leave your girl out here hanging. Okay. I'm trying to build a tribe, because we love the 90s over here, and I can't wait to share more with you. Peace.